So, Scream 6 is definitely the best horror movie that I've seen this year. But considering the only horror movie I've seen in the cinemas this year is Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, that's not really saying a lot. But still, good news, I really enjoyed this movie. I had a really good time. It's definitely better than Scream 5. It's not as good as Scream 4 in my opinion, but I've just always had a really soft spot for Scream 4. So, yeah, I think everybody's going to be pretty happy with this movie. The core four, Chad, Mindy, and the Carpenter sisters, all do a really good job. I really like especially the dynamic between the sisters in this movie and the tension that they have going on between them. I'm trying really hard not to give away spoilers because I forget what's in the trailer and what's not, so I'm going to try to keep it pretty vague, but if you want to see my spoiler review, I'm going to film that after I film this, so that should be up soon. So this movie had a lot of meta commentary, as usual, on the whole movie scene, the horror movie scene, and you know what it wasn't as sharp, I think, as other movies, but it was still really fun to have that commentary in there. The new characters, I have to admit, were the weak spot for me personally. I didn't really feel like I connected to any of the new characters coming in, but the legacy characters were amazing. Kirby being back especially was a highlight for me. I've always been a big fan of Kirby. That's one of the reasons I like Scream 4 so much. So having her back was really good, and she feels the same as she did before. Now that she's grown up and become an FBI agent, it doesn't take away the fact that she's still a movie buff. So yeah, I'm really glad she still felt like Kirby. And she had this moment when they're in the Ghostface shrine and she sees Charlie Walker and Jill Roberts, their Ghostface costumes, and she gets a little bit emotional, and that was a pretty emotional moment. And this movie had a really, really good opening kill. I really enjoyed the opening kill. Good tension, that was something that I felt was lacking in Scream 5. Really good chase scenes. I really loved the fact that it's set in New York City this time. It was something I was a little hesitant about. I was like, the transition from small town to big city, is that going to change the feel, the dynamic of Scream? Because apart from when they were in Hollywood, they've always been in the small town setting. And even in Scream, when they were in Hollywood, it didn't really feel like a big city sort of vibe, you know? But in Scream 6, it just really changes it up. But it was in a good way. It felt like it was reinvigorating the franchise. It was adding a breath of fresh air without taking away the core of what makes Scream Scream. And it added a new interesting dynamic in the fact that Ghostface was so brazen this time around. Like, he just went out into the open and started chasing and attacking people because he knows this is New York City. Nobody is going to be a hero and risk their life for a stranger. Like, not to sound too nihilistic, but let's be honest. How many people would seriously go out of their way to help somebody who was being chased by somebody with a knife? So in a small town, it's different, you know, there's that small town tight-knit community. But in New York City, it just added to the tension and the chase sequences really well. So Sydney's absence is definitely missed, but at the same time, it didn't take away the enjoyment of the movie. Look, I would definitely, of course, prefer a movie with Sydney in it, and hopefully she'll come back for Scream 7, which I'm positive there will be a Scream 7. Like, there's no confirmation yet, but let's be honest, it's making a lot of money, so I'm sure they're going to set it up to be a franchise, because they talk about, okay, well, this is a very small spoiler. If you're very, very sensitive to spoilers, just tune out for the next 30 seconds. they talk about franchises in this movie, so I feel like it's definitely showing that they're willing to sort of milk this as much as they can possibly milk it. So yeah, I'm sure there's going to be another one. So anyway, look, I feel like Sydney hopefully we'll be back next time. I feel like that's where things are sort of headed to the big climax. You know, I feel like, see, I can't say it without saying it. Okay, you'll have to see my spoiler review to see what I'm really talking about here. But yeah, look, Dewey is missed too. I really like Dewey, so it was really sad that he's gone. But we still have Gale, and Gale was my second favourite character apart from Sam. I love Gale, and her attack scene is definitely the best scene in the movie for me personally. Well, one of them. I also really enjoyed the opening kill, like that scene. But Ghostface, oh, like you see it in the trailer when he goes to attack Gale. He leaps off the couch and it looks like he's genuinely flying. Like for a second I'm actually like, are they taking this in a supernatural direction? Because he seriously flew at her. But anyway, so Gale was really smart what she did. I can't go into details, but I think, yeah, she was really smart when Ghostface attacked her, how she handled it. So a lot of people are saying that this Ghostface is the most brutal of them all. And I've got to say, I personally disagree. I don't really think this movie was more brutal than the other movies. In fact, I think it was the least brutal. One of the least brutal that we've had. I think Charlie Walker in Scream 4 was definitely the most brutal Ghostface we've had. And I think that he's definitely an underappreciated Ghostface. But maybe that's because I've always liked Rory Culkin, so yeah, maybe I'm biased. So when it comes to the third act reveal, the motives of the killers, the identities of the killers, look, I've got to be honest and say this was the weakest in the franchise for me personally. If you've been on my channel for a while, you know that I was not a fan of the ending of Scream 5. Look, I totally get that fandoms can be toxic. Trust me, as someone who's on the internet, if you say the wrong thing, if you breathe the wrong way, people will come after you. I totally get how toxic it can be, but still at the same time, it sort of felt like the Scream writers were sort of giving the middle finger to their own fans. I don't know, I just really didn't enjoy the motivation or the killers in general with Scream 5, but with this I feel like it was a step down even further. Not so much as, well yeah, with the motive, I didn't like it to be honest, but saying that, it still was a good movie. Look, the third act reveal was like the last 10 minutes of the movie, so there's still an hour and 50 minutes of the movie that are very enjoyable. So look, just because I didn't like the ending doesn't mean I didn't like the journey getting to the ending. So honestly, I would give this an 8 out of 10 still. It's definitely something I think that you're going to want to see in the cinema with an audience. I think it really adds to the experience when you get to see it, you know, in a crowded room and hear those moments where everybody sort of gasps at the same time. Because these days, you know, I've really started getting frustrated with the movie-going experience when everybody's talking all the time. And it's moments like this that make me realise how much I love seeing movies in the cinema. So go see it. Let me know down below what you thought of it. Please subscribe if you want to see my spoiler review. Let me know what you thought of the movie, or just give this video a like. It really helps me out. Thanks, guys.